The pale man with blue lips said in Dothraki, Pyat Pri, the great warlock.
The bald man with jewels in his nose answered in High Valyrian of the Free Cities, I am Zarozoandoxus of the 13, a merchant prince of Qarth. And the woman in the lacquered wooden mask said in the common tongue, I am Quaithe of the Shadow. We come seeking dragons. Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brotherhood Without Manners, your favorite full spoiler reread podcast of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, reading A Clash of Kings. I am Zach, one of your hosts, and as always, sitting here with me, next to me, cleaning his glasses, is my brother Nate.
Yeah, that's me! You choking on my intro?
I guess.
It's so magnificent.
I'm gonna get a sip of some,
It's a weird day. It's a weird day.
Is it?
What a weird day. It's a weird day, everyone. If you've joined us before, you know that we are a full spoiler, so thank you for coming back. If you have not been here before, if you don't mind spoilers, I suppose you can stick around. Otherwise, you know.
We like to read A Song of Ice and Fire here.
Holy shit.
And then talk about it, analyze it, look at themes, blow Nate's mind sometimes with our capability of remembering that it is a Song of Ice and Fire.
Speaking of mind-blowing, I got a great theory for this one. No, not until the chapter, like for this chapter.
And so, just in the world of Game of Thrones, Martin has posted on his Not a blog, he was invited to New Zealand, all expenses paid.
Yeah, to host the whatever.
Well, he was invited just by the country, and then
that was last
year.
year that he was invited by the country. He was invited to host the award show. Now, is what's going on. And
and he just said that if I don't have wins in hand by the time, which is July 29th, by the time I'm there hosting that you can lock me in a little cabin. And so maybe, potentially, there's something to be excited for. People are going ham about it on Reddit. But
what else is new?
I try not to read.
They've been doing that for 8 years
Yeah,
now,
I try not to read too much into Martin's Not a blog
but I'm excited nonetheless.
It's straight up an announcement of here's Winds of Winter's release date. But, so if you joined us last episode, we were reading Theon 1. Theon made his not-so-glorious, spectacular return to the Iron Islands, his home.
Fuck Theon.
He had, obviously, a self-grandized image of what was expected when he returned. He was expecting a fucking party and a big, happy celebration, and got the Iron Islands, as they always have been. And
A new plan
from
his father, Balon Greyjoy.
Yeah. He presented Rob's letter, and Balon basically said, fuck that shit. And backhanded Theon, ripped his fucking stupid shit off, and said, yeah, I'll take my crown. And essentially, we're going to go and take Winterfell, because it's ripe and undefended right now with Rob marching. Yeah. So, and that's where we left Theon. This is, I believe, our first POV chapter in this book. And we're jumping across the narrow sea back to Daenerys.
Have we had a Sansa chapter in Clash?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, on Joffrey's name day. Yeah, right. And last we left Dany, she had trusted a magi to help heal Khal Drogo, which resulted in Khal Drogo dying. Nate and I discussed all of the morals of that situation. You should go listen to our earlier episodes if you haven't listened to them. And she ended up smothering Khal Drogo, or what had become of Khal Drogo, and lost her unborn child in the process. So in the funeral pile,
Same thing. Whatever.
She decided to walk in with her eggs inside as well, and when the fire burned out, Dany was unharmed with her eggs, and for the first time there were dragons in the world in like 300 years, and yada yada yada.
Unburned.
And so, picking up this, Dany's first chapter in A Clash of Kings, the Dothraki had taken to calling the comet the Bleeding Star. They have an actual Dothraki.
Shirak Kaya.
Yeah, I wasn't going to attempt that.
Well, it's because you suck.
The Bleeding Star. The old men muttered that it omened ill, but Dany had first seen it the night she had burned her son and stars Drogo, the night her dragons had awakened. And she thinks to herself that it is the herald of my coming. The gods have sent it to show me the way. So now, I thought it was interesting because last chapter I had mentioned Theon
claiming
says that it is my comet, and he is the first person to do so. Now we get Dany a second. But with Dany,
we're not.
You don't feel like it is
Who the fuck do you think you are?
It's almost like maybe like she did kind of birth dragons back into the world, so it's this interesting...
Yeah, it's funny, because we absolutely despise Theon for even considering it being his, because he's such an insignificant person. We've put her on such a pedestal that maybe it could be hers.
Yeah.
But she mentions this to her Khalasar, and the handmaidens are like, no,
Khaleesi, no.
Bad. It's bad, you die, don't do it.
That way lies the Red Waste, Khaleesi. A grim place and terrible. And Dany insists, the way the comet points is the way they must go.
Mainly because there's only one way forward to go, because all the other directions have been overrun by all the other calls. We know that... Pono, he has gone down south towards Marine and Yunkai and Astapor because he has like the most of all the Khalasar that he took with him.
Yep.
And he's trying to sell some of the slaves down there because fuck yeah. Like,
money.
Right. And Jorah is, because she's like, well, that's all right. Like, because Pono was always nice to me. He was sweet. And Jorah's like, yeah, he was.
Was fine. Pono will fucking kill you. Yeah.
He will slit you throat dead.
And north, the Dothraki Sea extends on and on and on, but the first Khalasar that they met would sweep them up, killing their warriors and enslaving their weak. And south were the lands of the Landmen, and they were even too weak to go against those unwarlike folk. And so the only choice open to them was east, I believe?
It's southeast.
Southeast.
And... because they also talk about, Jorah then talks after about Pono, that he's also more interested in her dragons at this point. Nobody gives a fuck about Dany, and and she's like, well, they're my dragons. He can't take them. And he's like, he will. If you, like, he'll kill you to take them.
Yeah,
so.
One Iraq swipe would put an end to them, though Pono is more like to seize them for himself. A living dragon is beyond price, and in all the world there are only 3. Every man who sees them will want them. And Dany gets protective, and they are mine. And she thinks that they were born from her faith and her need, and given life by the death of her child and unborn son and the Magi. No man will.
Her husband and her unborn son, the child, and the Magi. You said the child and the unborn son.
Oh.
Which are the same person.
Yeah, the husband and the unborn son, and the Magi.
But she agrees to take his counsel, just mainly because she appointed him as her first Queen's Guard and knows that he's not as dumb as he looks, so...
And when the omens and him agree, then that's a pretty good indication of what the fuck to do.
Yeah, that.
So they mount up, she mounts her silver, and we get her physical description that all her hair had burnt away in Drogo's pyre. So her handmaidens had taken to garbing her in the skin of the white Harakakar.
So in her very first chapter in Clash of Kings, she is being draped in the pelt of a creature that is known to be the King of Kings.
The protector of the land, and we also, because that was one of the major points we made about Dany, was this white lion skin, and the other one that I made as a significant point was the Ozymandias reference, which we get here in this city that we get coming up in a bit. And so, yeah, she's wearing the skin of the white lion that Drogo had slain.
Yeah, and we learn that they're now calling her the Unburnt and Mother of Dragons.
Jesus, here we go. Start the fucking chain of nicknames for Dany.
And I have some quotes coming up here, because it says that they ride by night and they camp during the day, hiding in the tents from the sun. And their horses were beginning to die off fairly quickly as they made their way through the Red Wastes. Do you have a description of the Red Wastes?
Red Wastes?
The Web Wastes?
Red Wastes? No, I don't. Right, it's a fucking desert. It's harsh. It's brutal.
So she starts thinking to herself, though, about the Khalasar, and I wrote the quote, "They are not strong," she told herself, "so I must be their strength. I must show no fear, no weakness, no doubt." I really want to break into a No Doubt song right now. "However frightened my heart, when they look upon my face, they must see only Drogo's queen. She felt older than her 14 years. If ever she had truly been a girl, that time was done."
Has she ever truly been a girl? That was the question I wanted to immediately pose.
Yeah, I think so. When she was with Sir Willem Darry, early on because he treated her sweetly.
She thinks about Willem Dairy, thinking there's even sweet.
And so I think yes, and even a little bit at Illyrio's manse before things
got a little out of control. But it was all fleeing ahead of
and it was
all
under the shadow of her.
Is it?
But
is
yes,
that a
I still
childhood?
think I think with Willem Dairy there was that moment of peace. That's why she thinks of it as home, where she did just get to enjoy fruits and relax and hang out for a little bit.
But the reminder that she is only 14 is good.
So the thing also that I was pointing out here is that I must show no fear, no weakness, and no doubt.
Yeah.
She's already this early on drilling into her head. She's right.
Yeah.
What I say has to be, whether it's good or not, I have to have the conviction.
Right here in this moment, it's a good thing. She's trying to be strong for her people so she can dictate how fast.
But if she lets this
if that thought runs away,
into it, where it's, no, I do this and I'm the queen, so I need to have no doubt in what I'm doing, even if that means I'm burning this city down. I'm raising the city to bring it back great. Like, it starts with these little effects, and then it just snowballs from here.
3 days into their march, the first man died. An old man fell exhausted from his saddle and could not rise, and the blood flies gathered around him, carrying his ill luck to the living.
Dany even had the weakest horse still with them slaughtered so that he could ride into the Starlands, the night skies, like the Dothraki
The
do.
Nightlands?
Whatever.
The Starlands.
You know,
it's a fucking Super Mario World. Yeah. 2 nights later, it was an infant girl who perished, her mother's anguished wailing lasting all the night. But there was nothing to be done for the child, as she was too young to ride mounted into the Nightlands. She had to be born again and try again another time, I guess. Sorry.
Game over. So food and water became scarce. Even the hunters couldn't find anything.
I like the description because he says that the rivers they crossed were dry as dead men's bones, and it's just... He really fucking paints like the desperation of this march.
Yeah, because Dany thinks if there were gods around here, they were hard, dry gods, deaf to prayers for rain.
Yeah, they're finding, because she sends some outriders ahead, and they're only finding these stagnant pools of
where they're drinking it,
brimstone, but it's gross, putrid water, but it is water. Wine gave out first, and eventually their food stores, until it was the flesh of their dead horses that were sustaining them. Death followed death, weak children, old women, the sick, the stupid, the cruel land claimed them all. And Dany hungered and thirsted with the rest of them, the flesh falling away from her day by day, until she was lean and hard as a stick. Yet it was her dragons she feared for.
Yeah, because she even thinks about, now she thinks about all the people that she's lost in her life.
Going all the way back to her mother.
Her father, Rhaegar, her brother, Viserys, but before even Viserys, like you mentioned, Willem Dairy, Jhogo, and Rhaego, and she vows, the gods will not have my dragons.
Yeah.
The gods will not have her dragons. And I also think it's funny that she's making, and similarly... The chapter before this, Aeron Damphair was saying, "You're a drop to a storm compared to a god." And she's sitting here making these claims where we were like, shut the fuck up, Theon. You're nothing. Even if you're a king, you're a man.
Yeah.
But we're still listening to Dany put these fucking gods in their... No, I vow they won't dance, Dany. They're fucking gods, bro.
True. But she gets into the description of the dragons, that they were no larger than scrawny cats until they unfurled their wings, and then it was 3 times their size. They refused to eat the raw horse meat that she was trying to feed them until she remembered Viserys saying once, only dragons and men eat cooked meat. So, as long as the meat was seared black, the dragons would rip at it eagerly, eating several times their own weight. And at last, they began to grow larger and stronger. And Dany marveled both at their beauty and the heat. Night when they were traveling
practically
steep.
So, getting painted in a really good light in this chapter.
Yeah.
Like, she's getting good advice from him that she's using right now. She mourned his... I mean, she did mention that he was a cruel asshole. But if somebody were to start with this book, for whatever dumbass reason, Viserys, her brother, he died. The poor guy.
Yeah.
But, like... Why? So is it because he's dead?
I think it's because she's aware that she plans on naming one after him and kind of regaining the legacy, because she says straight up his dragon will do what he could not.
Yeah. And so each night she chooses one of the dragons to ride on her shoulder, while her handmaidens hold the other 2 in cages nearby, always within eyesight, because otherwise they will flip.
It reminds me of the dire wolves.
Yeah,
If they're not around, they just howl. Dany began telling her blood riders of Aegon and his dragons of Balerion, the Black Dread.
Yeah, and his sister's dragons, Vhagar for Visenya and Meraxes that Rhaenys.
And I really like it because Aggo says about her black.
Drogo, yeah.
Khaleesi, there sits Balerion, come again. And she thinks that it may be, but she would name them for those that the gods had taken from her instead. So she declares that the green shall be Rhaegal, for her valiant brother who died on the Trident. The cream and gold, Viserion. Her brother was cruel and weak, yet her brother still, and his dragon will do what he could not. The black is Drogon. And I really like that there's no description. It's just like, obviously, the most powerful, intimidating is Drogon.
Well, we will get that he's got the black with the red stripes going through
Yeah,
him,
we get that, but
she
gives the reasoning for Rhaegal and Viserion.
Right, after this and after that. Drogon, because...
Obviously, it's going to be Drogon. I just think it's interesting that she doesn't give, because my son and stars was the most valiant. It's just there. You just kind of... Yeah, even as her dragons prospered, her Khalasar withered and died around her. The land grew more desolate. Doria ended up taking fever, eventually lacking the strength to even mount, and they had to either push on or leave her to die, but Dany refused, sat and gave her water... cooled her brow with a cloth and sat with her until she died.
So I was surprised.
I was too.
Even though this is, my fourth or whatever time reading these, I had for some reason thought she made it quite a ways further than this. I didn't realize she died here. But damn,
yeah,
Doria.
Yeah, because there was obviously I was paraphrasing there. Dany does take a moment and recall that this was the woman who taught her how to please Drogo in bed, and They bonded over that. They had a connection. So this is another loss for Dany. Doria was good to her. They were good friends and... Slave, yeah. But the Dothraki began muttering that the comet had begun to lead them to some hell.
Yeah.
And she asked Jorah if this red waste has an end. And
he says he's seen maps. He knows it ends.
But I've never been this far east, bitch. I don't know what you want me to tell you. It's hot.
He's basically this is a lot fucking harder than I had thought it was gonna be. And she's like, did I doom our people? And he's like, listen, we can, we might be doomed if we keep going, but I guarantee we're all fucked if we turn back now.
Yeah.
So we may as well press on.
And she notes here that he's exhausted. He's gray and pallid looking, and his wound on his hip that he took from his fight with Drogo's blood riders hasn't quite healed yet because they haven't really had the time to
made me think of Asmodeus.
Chill and let him heal. Not quite the same comparison. But she ends up leaning in and giving him a light kiss on the cheek, thinking that I must be strong for him as well. A knight he may be, but I am blood of the dragon. And she begins to despair eventually. Just, fuck. The comet mocks my health.
So I think that kiss was really important. Because she's so naive to it and what it meant to him. And we'll learn a little bit more. And I
hate it because I totally get what it means.
She was doing it for.
Take heart, my knight. We'll get through this. Yeah. But he's creepy about it because she notes later what happens later.
But so basically they're kind of just jumping from stagnant pool to stagnant pool across this fucking desert wasteland.
Yeah, she's tripping out, thinking, have I crossed half the world? Witness the rebirth of dragons only to die with them here in this shithole of a desert? That doesn't make sense to me at all. That can't be, and she refused to believe it. And so the next day at dawn, her outriders gallop back, shouting of a city as pale as the moon.
And lovely as a maid.
And she demands them to show her, so they continue walking, and when she was before the city...
What, did you lose yourself?
I did.
He lost his place. They get to the city and start realizing that it's because he tells them, before they head to the city, she sends some riders out to investigate it.
Yeah.
And come back, and they're like, yo, bitch, this place is a ghost city. And the handmaids freak out, and they're like, we can't go in there. And Dany's like, no, fuck that shit. They're just ghosts. we can go in.
Yeah, Jhogo says that when the gods are gone, evil ghosts feast by night. In such places are best shunned, Khaleesi. It is none.
It is none.
But Dany's like, yep, fuck that shit. So how long it was deserted, Dany couldn't know. And I thought it was also interesting. She asked Jorah, do you know? And he has no fucking...
Yeah, he's like, no, I don't know anything.
I don't know this place. And so everything in this area was white, as if the people who had lived here had known nothing of color. They pass an empty marble plinth, and she thinks that perhaps, even now, the missing statue stood amongst the other stolen gods in Vaes Dothrak. She might have even ridden by it 100 times, never knowing.
Yeah, that the Dothraki have clearly that there was here.
So, I went back into A Game of Thrones.
Yeah, because we talked a lot about the statues and the stolen things there when we were talking about Dany during the Ozymandias fucking episode that we did.
So I went back to Dany's chapter, actually it's Dany 4 in A Game of Thrones, where she's first entering Vaes Dothrak, and I'll just read this little bit here. The forgotten deities of dead cities brandished their broken thunderbolts at the sky as Dany rode her silver past their feet. Stone kings looked down on her from their thrones, their faces chipped and stained, even their names lost in the mists of time. Lithe young maidens danced on marble plinths, draped only in flowers, or poured air from shattered jars. I could go on, but that's about it.
So I think
that is the only mention of a marble statue.
A marble plinth. Even. Like
with a plinth, yeah.
And so I wonder if that's not the one that was here originally.
These dancing maidens wrapped in nothing but flowers, or pouring what I imagine would be water out of a jug if it wasn't shattered and broken. So I don't know. I just thought, in my mind, that helped kind of paint this place a little more. It seems
make it
less
more real,
less intimidating as well. If it's got,
it's already been raided and pillaged, and it's just empty.
So they make camp.
So also, when she was thinking that, for some reason, I thought it was worth noting that Viserion, who's on her shoulder, hissed.
Yeah,
and I don't know what that was about. Like, I didn't quite. Whether he's just, this is weird. This is fucking weird.
Yeah, I think it was just an odd scenario, but I was odded out by the hiss as well.
But yeah, so they kind of set up camp in the center of the area, and
in a gutted plaza.
Dany starts kind of sending out her people to just explore the fucking place. And the first one to return has found a fig tree. Not anything special for figs, but everyone fucking starts just trampling the dude to get some. And shortly after, they find out that there's a bunch of little hidden fruit trees and little gardens in these places. But
they also find bones, skulls, bleached and broken. And again, Erie's fucking losing her mind. Ghosts, we must not stay here, Khaleesi. This is their place. But Dany says dragons are more powerful than ghosts. She ain't having it. But yeah, there's wells, fucking fruit. Like, they lucked on quite the little treasure trove here.
Yeah, like, she should have just chilled here and fucking...
And Dany thinks that in her tent, she reflects on her choices, thinking that they could gain their stay and gain their strength here, enjoy the cold water.
And she starts to. I think that it's easy to not realize how much time passes here towards the end of the chapter. But yeah, so she had made her handmaidens get some bath stuff for her, and so she was feeding her dragons while reflecting on that kind of stuff. But they do...
They scrub her down with sand.
They bring it in, and just start scrubbing her backs down.
And Dany thinks that when her hair, because Jhogo notes that her hair's coming back, and she thinks that she would like to grow it out like Jhogo. And as Drogo's hair had never been cut, that was a super huge thing of who he was his braid had never been cut, so she wants to do the same thing. And I think that's going to be interesting to see if... With the battle, the... never losing a battle if she ever loses her braid. But...
So she sees across the room Rhaegal kind of hop up off of whatever he was standing on and do a little attempt at a fly, and doesn't work out for him. And so he starts growling a little bit. And she thinks about how she would absolutely understand the frustration of having wings and not being able to fly. And I started thinking about her, we always compared the riding with freedom for her, but she immediately is like completely over that, it seems, with dragon flying, where she's like, oh, if I could do that, I'd be fucking higher than high. Like, just...
Yeah, it'd be like standing on a mountaintop, only better. The whole world would be spread out below, and if I flew high enough, I could reach right up and touch the comet. And yeah, I mean, that's it. it's that higher form of freedom, which I think is starting to show the danger. Like, the horse represented freedom from her being a bought and sold slave.
So do you think
not having any? Now the dragon.
Do you think that's similar to Hermes? Is it Hermes who
flew to the closest to the sun?
It's not Hermes. It's fucking. I forget his name right now. Starts with a P, I believe. But yeah, he flies too close to the sun, and I'm looking up.
I feel like it is Hermes. Is it not Hermes?
No, I think he's the messenger.
I get what you mean, though. Yeah, I feel like
where her touching the comet because she can fly now. Daedalus was the one, and Icarus, son of Daedalus.
Well,
Icarus
yeah. So I feel like the dragon is essentially the check your privilege part, because now that's the above and beyond. That's first class. Like, she's got the horse freedom,
right?
And like she's got that now, but now she wants that next tier, and that's where it starts to get dangerous. That's where
and so that just makes me think of Icarus. With she's gonna get on the dragon, and she's gonna be, I can do what the fuck I want now. I don't need to listen to anybody, and I can go touch the goddamn sun.
And so before Jorah enters and things get creepy, we will convene our small council here, take care of some of our stuff. So we'll be real quick and let you get back to the episode.
Woo! Hey, what's up? Welcome to the small council.
Small council meetings.
I guess you were going.
I guess so. That's what we're doing.
It's gonna be a fairly short small council this time. We're just always here to plug in our socials. That way you know how to get a hold of us if you would like to write in inductees. We don't have any for this chapter from listeners, which is just fine because we have some pretty great ones. I actually don't think I've thought of mine just yet, but they're probably gonna be great because they always are. If you would like to write in, then you can do so. All over the place. I'm on Twitter. He's on Twitter. Should we give our Twitter handles? Because you're sitting there blankly, like I'm saying something I shouldn't. I'm on Twitter at Manners Without. Zach is on Twitter at CarStark92. We are on Instagram at Manners Without. We are on Facebook, facebook.com/Brotherhood Podcast. We also have a special, private, secret Facebook group for Patreon members, patreon.com/Without Manners, where you can get the extra bonus Winds of Winter sample chapters that we've reread, and they're pretty great. And finally, the easiest way to get a hold of us, where most of our listeners tend to, is our email, withoutmannersbrotherhood@gmail.com. We also always appreciate rates and reviews on any platform that you happen to be listening to us on. Now, I think you had pulled up,
in our super secret Facebook group, Julian had corrected us as
during our Theon episode.
During our Theon episode, we called him out, and he did indeed know that We Do Not Sow is the Greyjoy house, and he was just ribbing us as we were giving him shit. So he wanted that correction, so I thought we would throw it in there so he could maintain a little dignity over there. That you go, Julian, we all know you knew it, bud. But that's pretty much it for this small council. So
right into us, and we'll let you get back to Dany 1.
Oh, Jorah's being weird.
Oh yeah. We're back.
Oh, alright. Yeah. So Jorah comes fucking cartwheeling in. I'm back.
That's how he does it.
So Jorah enters, and he offers her a peach.
Now,
why don't you have a peach creepy rape scenario? This felt sexual.
So the peach to me did not.
It didn't?
No, and that's similarly, a lot of people have tried making Renly's peach sexual.
Oh, no, see, I don't see Renly's peach sexual.
I see it similarly, that it's showing that, take stock in the things that life's giving you now. Enjoy the fruits of life right now, or else you'll miss the opportunity. And so the fact that it's this, it doesn't look all that appealing. Like, she says it's overripe and a little soft, but when she bites into it, it is fucking wonderful. It is
and juicy. Honey's all mine. Well, that's why I got the because it's not the peach itself. It's the fact that it's him. He's saying, oh, take this moment and appreciate these moments, with me.
Yeah.
Is where he's getting at with it. Whereas, absolutely, Dany bites into it, and because she's still not seeing that he's into her, so she's like, yeah, this is fucking dope.
Well, I mean, his intentions aside, I think that's what the peach represents. But yeah, he is definitely probably coming in here like, let me give you this sweet peach, and then you give me your sweet peach.
And then
like,
honey's all mine.
Exactly. But no, I think that the peach itself is to be that similar representation that, there's opportunities in life, you should take them. Yeah. Because she could have just been like, no, she could have been Stannis. No, I don't want your peach. I don't want to taste it.
So Jorah thinks that they should stay here and gain their strength back, and Dany mentions that the Dothraki mention ghosts, and he says, there are ghosts everywhere, my queen. We carry them with us.
And then she asks him about his ghost, and he tries to skirt it, like, nah, it's a long story, and she's like, bro, we're in the middle of the fucking desert.
Yeah, we're in
the
middle of a dead city, just waiting for my outriders to find anything. So we got time.
He fills her in first on his first wife, who was a glover of Deepwood Mott, and she's aight. Like, he didn't dislike her. She was plain of face, but they did it was more of a Stannis relationship than it was a Ned and Catelyn. It's very dutiful, and that's not to say he didn't love her, but she miscarried 3 times. And after the 3rd attempt at an heir...
She was just useless.
She was too weak to recover, and she died.
Oh, shit.
And so then he goes into because in order to tell you this story, first I need to tell you this story.
Yeah.
And so he goes into Robert's rebellion, essentially, and explains that he was also there at the Battle of Pike, which we know, during that last, which, again, the way Martin just ties in these chapters and the orders that he does, we just had Theon. We just watched Theon looking at the spot in the wall where this hole was blown. And so he explains that there was a hole blown in the wall at Pike, and that besides perhaps this random red priest from Myr, he says, which we know is Thoros, that he was in very shortly afterwards. Mm-hmm. And for that, he earned his knighthood from Robert.
Yeah.
Now, to celebrate that battle and that victory, Robert, as he is known, threw a fucking tournament. This tournament was held in Lannisport, and Jorah went the fuck to town in it, because he had worked up the courage after seeing his new future wife, Lyness Hightower.
I was calling her Nessie because I like just big old Nessie.
Big old Nessie. No,
Nessie.
I don't like that. You call her whatever you want, but...
Lyness. It works. Okay.
He asked her for her favor, and surprisingly to him, she gave it to him. He won this fucking tournament, or did he get second place? He did beat Jaime Lannister.
Well,
in the final
they went to a draw because neither one of them were unhorsed, but Robert named him.
Right, and so then he named her the Queen of Love and Beauty, basically what Rhaegar did to... So essentially, I think it was very funny that Dany's brother did this same thing with Lyanna, but it had a completely... different terrible outcome.
Yeah, but Jorah wasn't married with his wife in the audience.
Right, absolutely. So he names her, and
that very night asked her father to marry for her hand, and
he agreed to.
Yeah, they granted it, but he says Bear Island was too harsh for her, too cold, and he spent ridiculous amounts of gold on different entertainment, food,
just things
ships,
to keep her happy. Because when she
singers.
got there, she lost her taste for fish and venison, so he paid for cooks from Old Town and fucking harpists from Casterly Rock and just crazy shit that he couldn't afford, which then leads into
He tried to get into tournaments, but... He never distinguished himself in another tournament.
Well, because he even mentioned that to her first, that besides that one tournament, he was never known as a tourney knight. That wasn't what he did. It was just the one. And so he kept losing money to replace armors and horses.
And then the way he did other things for gold. Like, all right, Jorah.
So he sold the slaves.
He's handing out handies in the back parking lot behind the Kmart. He started selling his slaves, which was what he was exiled for when Ned Stark caught him. Yeah, he began to sell the slaves, and eventually fled Ned Stark, taking his wife Talise with him in exile. And he took service as a sellsword, and while fighting Braavosi on the Rhoyne, his wife became the chief concubine of a merchant prince named Traegar or Molan. And Dany asks, do you hate her forever? And he says, if only I could.
Almost as much as I love her.
Yeah.
Which it reminded me of basically the pedo Snape. Always. But... yeah, I mean, it does go to show, I mean, as much as we see him as Creeper Jorah because of having seen what he's going to be like in the future as well, on top of this, He really isn't, like, because you feel bad for him here, because you saw that, Ned had him banished because he was going to chop his head off. All those things that he was doing wasn't just because he wanted to be rich and make a profit. He was trying to sustain a life to keep his fucking wife happy.
Yeah.
Because she was a miserable cunt.
I do feel bad for Jorah. It's just his reaction to it, because, like, we learn, because he gets up and starts to leave, and Dany asks him, what did your wife look like? And it's at this moment where she's covered herself now with just, like, a blanket, and she notices that he's staring only at her bare shoulder and close to her bare breast. And then slowly he looks up at her and he says, well, she look like you, Khaleesi. Yeah. And that's when Dany is like, oh, he wants me. Like, he wants me because I look like his wife. I remind him of her.
And he leaves, and she even makes the attempt of, like, picturing herself with him. She's like,
shivers.
Nah, bro. Mm-mm.
And she thinks, who could ever really compare to Khal Drogo? Though she does vow to give him back his home and honor.
No. Have you seen Jason Momoa? Like, come on now.
But she does vow to give him his home and honor back. But, yeah, I think, like, especially with later when he starts, like, grabbing feels and shit, like, he could go about this without being a fucking creeper about it. He's just
absolutely.
I don't like
creepy.
Book Jorah.
Yeah, it's just because because it's Book Jorah, he can do a lot of things that are not okay at all.
So the next morning,
crushing on a 14-year-old girl.
Yeah.
But, anyway.
She bid her blood riders to ride out. Aggo to the southwest, Rakaro south, and Jhogo follow the comet southeast. Seek cities, living or dead, people, rivers, lakes. I don't mean to strike out blind when we leave this place again. I will know where I am bound.
Yeah. And so they settle down here for a bit, and they name this place Vez Toloro, City of Bones. And days go by as they begin to start collecting themselves, trying to clean up the city a little bit,
building up
habitable.
The walls, the doors.
Yeah. So one person dies.
This also was the Ozymandias reference. This is an old monument that has since been forgotten. And they don't know who the fuck was here.
So they name it something themselves.
And it's empty. The City of Bones. Mm-hmm. And it could just be a reflection of what Dany is doomed for in the end. Is this small, dying contingent of a Khalasar. But yeah.
Yeah, and so they're trying to fix it all up. One person dies from a scorpion sting, but that's the only incident. And Rakaro is the first to return from the south. And he says that it's red wastes until the poison sea. So it's just nasty desert all the way down to the ocean. However, he did pass the bones of a dragon. And the dragon was so immense that he rode his horse through the great black jaws. So we just said it could be a reflection of her future. Do you think that has anything to do with it as well?
Yeah, it's obviously Drogo in the past future, and he's now in the sands of time. No, I don't know if it's just meant to be imagery. Or...
I do believe that there are hints and attempts and guesses at finding out what dragon this is specifically within the annals of history, like of all the dragons that have disappeared, and that it's been singled down, probably not singled if there's more than one option, but it's been brought down to like two different
My question would be, I guess, is what info does Rakaro have to go off of what the fuck a dragon looks like? These ones that are here in front of him? Because I would be willing to bet dollars to donuts that there's no fucking way you can compare this little tiny cat skull to something he rode through. So I'm not even 100% certain it's a dragon that he's finding. To me, it could be a fucking, I don't know, a desert mammoth, something the equivalent of some large creature out in the desert that died there, and he just doesn't know, and dragons are on the brain because they're the biggest thing he can think to name, and, the mother of dragons has 3. But
either way,
it caught my attention. Yeah. I would like to know what the fuck it is. But
so once he returned, Dany had him start digging up the plaza so that they can start growing some shit there. And then the second to return was Aggo, and Aggo was the one who was sent southwest. And he says it's basically the same shit. It's all barren. That there were a few more cities like this one, but none of them were near as large as this one. And while one of them had a bunch of skulls posted on spikes in a circle, he was like, I'm not going in that one.
Yeah.
I'm not going in that one. And so he went into a different one and essentially came across some scrolls that he left behind and an iron bracelet with an uncut fire opal the size of Dany's thumb. Sorry, I hiccuped. That was weird. Do you think it's any kind of special gem, Fire Opal?
Yeah,
I know
it's Quaith. I don't fucking know, man.
I feel like it's red herring stuff.
I think it's just more tying. These are dead cities. These are relics of the past. They're forgotten. We can't answer these questions, and it's that big what if that's hanging over every single protagonist of this book. Are they just going to fall into nothing and give in to this darker side of man, or are they going to actually live and have a legacy?
Yeah, so she has Jhogo start, or not Jhogo, she has Aggo start repairing the gates. That way they can have a defense if they do get attacked somehow by somebody. But she worries about Jhogo because time is passing in between each of these. It's not like the day after she sent them off.
I would guess they're here quite a few months.
At least a few months, I would imagine. And she had started thinking that Jhogo was lost, that he's done, he's gone, because it's been so long since
Eventually he comes riding up with Low Rider. Low Rider.
Oh.
And a guard shouts him out, so Dany rushes up to the walls to see him for herself, and Jhogo came, but not alone. Behind him rode 3 queerly garbed strangers atop humped creatures that dwarfed any horse. And Jhogo calls that he's been to the great city of Qarth, Khaleesi, and have returned with 3 whom wish to look upon her. And so Dany says, "Look all you will, but may I have your names?"
And first man steps up, the pale man with blue lips, said in Dothraki, "Pyat Pri, the great warlock."
The bald man with jewels in his nose answered in High Valyrian of the Free Cities, "I am Zarozoandoxus of the 13, a merchant prince of Qarth." And the woman in the lacquered wooden mask said in the common tongue, "I am Quaith of the Shadow. We come seeking dragons."
"Seek no more. You have found them." End scene. Bam. So now for my big old theory.
Yep.
Here we go. Quaith is Lynesse, Jorah's ex-wife.
Fucking hate
Get it.
So yeah, we meet Pyat Pri, Zarozoandoxus, and Quaith here.
Yes, 3 huge influences in Dany's everything.
Pyat Pri is terrifying and
especially when he gets
I'm really
up.
excited to get into that for this this reread. Zarozoandoxus is a fuck all.
He gets is it Jequi or Eerie?
I thought it was fucking Doria, so don't ask me, brah.
So probably one of those 2, though.
And then Quaith. Quaith is obviously still one of the biggest mysteries.
The enigma of the Song of Ice and Fire.
Oh, well, mainly of Dany, I would say.
Of the Song of Ice and Fire. Enigma.
Okay, sure. But, yeah, so Dany's telling them, you have found me. I think when she says, "We come seeking dragons," that's what I think I don't think Dany's talking about, like, her dragon.
No, I was going to mention that specifically. Yes, I'm here. You have found the dragon.
Sup, bitch.
I'm the dragon you have found.
But, yeah, so Dany's first chapter, a great first chapter. We get a lot of her thought process after the dragons were born, sort of caring for them for the first time that anyone's had to do in forever, and then the desperation. Martin really hammered it in how fucked they were, and then how much better they got once they got to this city.
I really liked the way he's tying this whole chapter into all of the Dothraki
pike
culture.
shit,
and the statues,
Jorah's history lesson tying into shit that we just fucking read about too, with the siege of Pike and Thoros of Myr charging through.
Which is something that we didn't hear about in this book per se, but we heard about his battle with the flaming sword. Way back
Martin's the way he does these tendrils, and then he grabs onto one from back, last book, and it's like, we'll put that story here.
Yeah, you remember Jorah Mormont? Here's why he did all this slavery.
Because I was thinking about that like Dany asks him about his wife and all that stuff in A Game of Thrones, but we don't get the answer. We don't get it until here, which is just interesting. We don't really find out about Jorah until right here. Besides, he's in exile for slaving. He served Viserys, realized Viserys was a dumb fuck and wanted to serve Daenerys, did so loyally as hell, even through the Magi bullshit, and then, now prostrates himself before her as the mother of dragons. So
do you have an inductee?
Yeah, I think it's gonna go to Eerie and Jiqui just because of their fucking, like, when these girls are on a track, man, they do not relent. Like, we must not stay here, Khaleesi, it is none. And Dany's like, yo, I don't give a fuck. But then they're like, Skulls, like, I just feel like Dany's just doing normal shit about their day, and then, like, she sees
no, you cannot do the dishes in cold water or warm water only.
Yeah,
it is known.
It is known.
You need to wash your face in circles, not in streaks. It is known.
It is known, Khaleesi. You brush in circles. It is known, like, fucking A, but it's hilarious. It makes me laugh every time. It is known is one of the best little catchphrases.
Yeah,
so
it's good stuff.
Eerie and Jiqui, I don't think they get enough respect, so props to those two girls.
Ooh, power to the people.
Who's yours?
Mine is going to Jhogo.
Okay.
Because, all right, this motherfucker disappeared for, like, at least a month or two to Qarth. Yo, he could have just been like, yo, fuck them. They're out in the middle of the desert. I have one of the strong horses and provisions. I'm done. I'm going to fucking live my best life here in Qarth. Like, I'm going to do... But instead, he came back. He made the trip. He found somebody and was like, hey, my Khaleesi sent me here to tell you she's got dragons.
I think it helps that Khaleesi, he literally watched walk into a roaring pyre.
Valid.
Walk out with 3.
But yeah, so for his loyalty and the fact that he made that trip
I think that's
back
a good point to show his, like, the effect that Dany had on them, like,
because they completely changed their religion.
This
basically.
is
him serving a woman.
We
is
can't.
Not
that's
acceptable.
In
and
her last
the fact
chapter.
that he's willing to traverse this red waste, make that dangerous journey, find people, convince them to come back with him. Granted, not too hard if he's like, yo, this bitch walked into fire and then walked back out.
Yeah.
Like, what is with that?
You want to see some dragons?
So yeah, so Jhogo's coming in.
Yo, you kids want to see some dragons? Get in my van. Yeah.
So those are our thoughts on
Yeah, we don't have any
inductees,
but that's all right. Feel free to write us in and let us know yours for any other of our future chapters. Next chapter we're going to be reading is going to be Jon 2.
It's a very short chapter.
It's a very short
chapter. So there is
chapter.
even potential that it's going to be combined with the chapter after, but I don't know yet. It depends on what kind of talking we're doing about it.
Yeah, we'll see.
So look for that one. Write in some inductees for it. Do you know who's after that? Nope. Yeah, me neither. Cool. Write us in inductees for that chapter also.
Yeah.
And otherwise, we will catch you on the next one.
Daenerys.
Peace.